Hi, my name is Nancy Love. I think I'll wait until that loud truck goes by. Really loud truck. Okay. Um, I'm talking to you today on behalf of the Planet Peace Project, a fledgling organization I've been trying to start for a number of years and create a nonprofit, but it's not there yet. That is devoted to helping save the world. The website for that is www.planetpeace.love. Today, of course, I will show you the skin I have worn every day uh, since 2019. My 5 cats and I were separated, and I reassert my uh, confidence and my. I'm getting them back now. The fact that I have been separated by criminals from my own cats, and the fact that the people who took them into foster and appeared to be legitimate, loving people won't talk to me anymore or tell me where they are is part of what inspires this particular topic, Rage on Women. And you also have a right to cry. There's an excellent book circulating now. I think it can be purchased on Amazon, probably read as a Kindle book or ebook as well. It's written by, I believe, an Indian woman named Saroya Chamale. Sora Saroya YA. Chamali is Chemaly, and it's called Rage in Women: The Power of Women's Anger. I heartily recommend it. I haven't read the whole thing, but the excerpts I've read are beautifully written, very articulate and intelligent and insightful and informative. Um, and she talks about the righteous anger and indignation that females in practically any society are entitled to and should be able to express more fully. Rage in women, or just anger in women, is poorly understood, often disrespected, and definitely feared. Think of it, if you were part of a culture that fomented uh, submissive behavior, that was not egalitarian, that discredited part of a downtrodden group, wouldn't you be afraid when that group got angry as well? There are many, many reasons why women in any context, in any culture, might be angry. Possibly there's domestic abuse. Possibly there's familial abuse, both psychological and physical, while they're growing up. Perhaps they see opportunities pass them by that their male cohorts are able to gain. And certainly there is even still a discrepancy in the amount of money women often make for exactly the same work as men are doing. Ruth Bader Ginsburg just shattered another glass ceiling, in spite of the fact that she's recently deceased. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is now the first woman in the history of history to lie in state in the US Capitol. And that shouldn't be, because there have been a great many women who have served our country admirably and deserve that honor. But I'm glad that she is being shown that respect. I love her very dearly. And notice I didn't use the past tense because I believe in the immortal soul. And I think she's smiling down at us right now. Yes, I have a right to cry. They needed her around for another 10 years or so. Cancer is an awful bully. There are so many reasons that women, there's so many ways in our society that angry women are discredited Angry women are discredited in many ways. Anger in women is crazy. It is called unjustified. Um, Sometimes angry women are told, are called liars because although they're telling the truth and are angry, they have righteous anger about the truth. They are disbelieved, and when an angry woman is called a liar, that may be a real concept, or it may be something that the person is making up. That the person calling the other person a liar is knowingly lying. It gets complicated. I know a lot about trying to get criminals arrested because, unfortunately, not long after I moved to Los Angeles, I happened to overhear someone talking about some extremely heinous crimes committed against children, and that was 13 years ago. It put me on a path of trying to help those children, and I did. But I became targeted by a number of criminals who were in collusion with the original ones that I overheard some comments about in 2006. And therefore, I know a bunch of cops. And I know some FBI agents and some people at other federal agencies. And what they see and what they tell me is that when a crime victim or a crime witness starts divulging their information to law enforcement, they're often very angry. They often cry. But the people that they're reporting about will try to discredit them. They will say that those people won't be believed when they tell the truth. But there is a truth, and cops aren't stupid. Most cops, anyway, aren't stupid. Thank you, God. And law enforcement officers are aware that that is going to be a tendency for criminals to put forth. That the criminals are going to say whoever said that they're criminals is lying or is crazy. And those are the two main things that they use to discredit victims and witnesses who are legitimate, angry, upset, and trying to seek justice. I said it before in a video, but I don't expect that anybody necessarily saw that. I don't expect that the people who see this have seen all my other videos, so I'll repeat it quickly. When I was in graduate school, toward the very end of a long class in psychopathology, where we studied the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for the Social Sciences. The mentor came in and he said, "Today I want to talk about misdiagnosis in psychology." He said one of the main things that happens is that women in particular are misdiagnosed as bipolar when in point of fact all they are is outraged, and their outrage might be identifiable. Usually this happens in domestic violence incidents where a man, or in a lesbian relationship, a woman who has been abusing a female will say that the person is lying or crazy when that person reports domestic violence. And it's extremely common. So it's in the best interest of a criminal, someone who's abusing you, to get you diagnosed formally with a brain chemistry disorder or a mental illness, because then that makes you easier to discredit in civil or criminal action. This is a shame, but fortunately most law enforcement officers will see right through it. But he said, my mentor in psychology said something funny. He said, always be aware that as far as society goes, an angry man is an angry man, but an angry woman is a, and he said the B word. And everybody laughed. And he said, yeah, the way I put that is funny, but the reality of it is tragic. Because women in many instances, have even more right to legitimate anger than men, but women are more likely to be discredited when they express it. So, that said, we also have really good reasons to cry. And we live in a society, we live in a culture, and I think this is pretty much ubiquitous now. There are masculine and feminine cultures, and more cultures try to appropriate the masculine culture of Western society than Western societies are trying to appropriate the more feminine qualities of some of the Eastern societies. That tearful people are discredited. They're told to stop crying, and that can be right after someone they love dies, or right after they've been physically assaulted, or right after some other very horrible thing has happened. Maybe, for example, their 5 cats have been stolen, and that person doesn't know. Yeah, I'm getting real personal all of a sudden. Maybe their 5 cats have been stolen, and they love those cats more than life itself. And the people who took them kept agreeing to return them, but now refuse to even talk about the whereabouts or well being of these creatures. I don't know one better reason to cry than what you love most in the world, dependents that need you, and you don't know where they are, or if they're all right, or if they're being treated well. So, this is a deeply personal subject because most of my life, I'll go ahead and tell you, I'll fess up to the real medicine here. Most of my life, I was one of the most nurturing, kind, unfailingly compassionate, sweet natured, even tempered, loving people you could possibly find. Everyone said so. That's not, a very positive self assessment. That's me repeating what everybody kept saying about me as early as elementary school up until about the last 4 years or so ago. But in the last 4 years, I have been so horrifyingly victimized by brutal criminals. I've had my face smashed in by one of these human trafficking when I was trying to get arrested. I had my ability to stand up and walk robbed from me. Now, almost everybody can stand up and almost everybody can walk. Some people who've been injured or have disease or are very aged can't walk that well, but just about everybody around here can stand up and walk. I can't anymore. And I used to be healthy like an Olympic athlete. But in the last several years, my empathic, loving, compassionate, tolerant nature has been changing, and I'm doing that on purpose because Einstein said if you keep doing what you've been doing, you'll keep getting what you've been getting. And what I kept getting for being loving and empathic and tolerant and compassionate was smashed in the face and having my knees injured and being unable to walk and being, in some cases, discredited and so forth. So I'm done. No more playing nice. And people just need to understand that enough is enough and there is such a thing as righteous anger. In Buddhism, most of the images of the Buddha, the sculptures and drawings and paintings we see are Buddha laughing, Buddha smiling, Buddha talking to people, Buddha meditating, but there is an image of the angry Buddha. And in this, he usually has one hand up and he's got one knee up and he's stomping and he's waving his hands around. And he's got a very angry face. And I always remember that the first time I read about the angry Buddha, it said, there is an angry Buddha, but he is seldom seen. And when we see the angry Buddha, it is always because of righteousness. It is always because of injustice. The Buddha does not become angry at slights or, small insults or sorts of vagaries and um, inconsequentialities that people suffer throughout days. The Buddha only becomes angry over injustice. But look at the world around us, people. Look at child abuse. Look at animal abuse. Look at factory farms. Look at the animal torture that happens in experimental laboratories in the name of health. Ha. Look at human rights violations. Look at planetary rights violations. Look at what one arrogant, foolish species has done to an entire world. Humanity has imbalanced an eco-balance that was perfect for millennia. We seem hell-bent on destroying the world. Oh yes, and then we've got all of our weapons. Do you realize that while approximately 25,000 people starve to death every 24-hour period, when there's plenty of food, we just can't distribute it well enough, and more than half of those are children, about 13,000 children starve to death every day. Humanity spends more than 20% of its resources globally building more weapons, maintaining them, creating bioweapons, things like nerve gas, running all kinds of horrifying experiments, here again using animals, because we just can't stop. We can't be bothered to stop spending at least a fifth of our resources trying to figure out bigger and better and nastier ways to kill one another. The Buddha is angry. There is rampant injustice. So if the Buddha only gets angry when confronted with injustice, some, Siddhartha type of highly enlightened angelic being could plop down on this planet and just know great rage 24/7. There's plenty to be outraged about. Now, we'll talk at another time about healthy expressions and unhealthy expressions. But I'm really very, very tired of hearing about women, domestic violence victims, people who suffered at the hands of their own family while growing up, women who've been discredited, women who've been abused at work, women in the military often are assaulted sexually and otherwise and kept down and lied about, and they don't get the promotions they want and so forth because they live in a very masculinized culture in the military and also in police forces, incidentally. There is so much good reason for women to be outraged. We're the nurturers. We're the lovers of the planet. We create, the new generation. And why would anybody in their right mind want to breed on this world right now? There's plenty of reasons, good reasons, for women to be extremely angry. And hey, it's okay. It is okay to cry. Screw the masculine culture. We need to change the world. And we need to do it within our own cultural expression. We need women need to claim our anger, and we need to claim our tears. I said something years ago that resonated with a lot of men. I said, men are told not to cry, but when I see a man cry, I know that I'm looking at a man who still owns his own soul. When I see a man cry, I know I'm with a man who still owns his own soul. And I have had so many men tell me that that is one of the most beautiful things out of the thousands of words I've ever written, that is one of the most beautiful and meaningful things that they have ever read. And they're glad that at least one woman or at least one person sees that. that they still own their own souls and that they've got a right to their tears. So, more on this later. I have quite a lot to say. And I appreciate your attention, as I say. This is In Love, the Planet Peace Project. And I am going to find and regain possession of my cats so that I don't need to be so angry and so that I don't need to.